Peace and love, black family. Um, I hope you all are having a wonderful Monday. Also, to update you, or rather to remind you that as the Black Centric Forum movement, since we took an initiative on focusing on the question of reparations in South Africa, this is what we have been doing. For the third time, in June 2019, we have sent another written submission for the third time to the South African Parliament proposing a reparations bill. Reparations mean that there must be a repair of the damage that have been caused by apartheid and colonization in South Africa. This is a very imminent call if we are serious about rainbowism, building a nation that accommodates both blacks and whites. Now, in 1998, the ANC have suspended the reparations committee that was supposed to do right by the damage that black people have suffered. Remember, apartheid and colonialism since 1652 was deliberate. It was a deliberate denigration, oppression, dehumanization, repression, castration, and the genocide on black people. And the only crime we have committed is that we are black people in an anti-black world. So if whites have refused, this is in the document that is actually published on the government's website, that the white government have said themselves that the ANC is the one that will carry on the responsibility to pay reparations. Now, you rape, you kill, you incarcerate, you steal, you rob, you criminalize a people for 400 years, and you want the same people to pay. This is not justice. And then, we wrote to the South African Parliament proposing that. They haven't responded. Now, this is a peaceful transition. We're writing for there to be a reparations bill. Reparations means there must be compensation for apartheid and colonialism. There must be rehabilitation for apartheid and colonial victims in the form of education, industrialization. But the educational system continues to exploit and dehumanize the thinking of black people. We don't know what will happen in future. Otherwise, we're calling you all and inviting you to come and join us on the shooting range on the 4th of August that is hosted by the Black Centric Forum organization. And we're also inviting you again to go into the African Nights initiative that will happen every Friday. Or rather, for now, it will only be at least once in a while on a Friday. Just like blacks have got churches, we need to have the African Nights initiative as something that is there to rehabilitate us, to renew our spiritual strength, to unite us, for us to come together and respond to all questions we feel confront society, to build stokvels and banks and whatever happens. But it must first begin with gatherings, whereby people come share poetry, people come share teachings, people come share spiritual lessons and so forth. My brother Lucanio, you're talking about, please go into detail with the suspension of the reparations committee. Okay, so in 1995, the Truth and Reconciliation Committee was initiated, championed by Desmond Tutu. Desmond Tutu does not have a legal background, or rather a clear understanding and directory in terms of international law on reparations. But he was the person who was supposed to champion Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which means there was supposed to be a forgiving process, a healing process, and a justice process. Reparations in this event refers to justice. Anywhere in the world, when Adolf Hitler performed a genocide on the Jews, there was justice served in the form of reparations. Today in Germany, there are industries in terms of, let's say, cities like Birmingham and a couple of cities in Germany are dedicated specifically for Jewish rehabilitation, industrialization, and reparatory justice. So in 1998, President Nelson Mandela, after only identifying 30,000 families that came front and say we were victims. My husband was killed and hanged by whites, and then come in front. Similar events to that. So which means only black people who came in front and say this is how we suffered as a result of apartheid were given 30,000 per family. 30,000 rand. 30,000 rand. Even if I can give you 30,000 rand, you can never do nothing. In Johannesburg, land is million, only land itself. Whites sell it to you for R1 million. Whereas the reparations process was supposed to involve compensation. Compensation means there's payment, not money. Reparations is not money. Compensation may be people compensated in the form of involvement in property rights, involvement in the banking sector, shares in industries, the building of black museum and so forth. That's compensation for the pain, the suffering, the loss of life, and all of that black people have gone through. Now, secondly, there must be restitution. Restitution means to try and amend, bring them to original position. Like let's say, for instance, in Sophiatown, blacks were moved into Soweto. How do you look into a restitution process there? There must be a setup of Soweto as an industrial aperture or something similar to that. And then it comes to rehabilitation. Rehabilitations mean the education must be able to re-educate black people to think like human beings, because Bantu education is, in fact, not even Bantu education, because Bantu education will mean black people's education. This anti-black education that we have today, that we consume every day, is something that was supposed to be destroyed. Rehabilitation, we're supposed to think like human beings, reason like human beings. If you see now us so much vested into Instagramming, into potting, into participating in Durban July, is because our thinking is not right. Now, South Africa didn't follow that process. At least for now, we're trying by all means to engage the government into introducing a reparations bill. Black people must be completely exempt from tax. Right now in the city of Cape Town, the city fines homeless people. If they find you in the streets of Cape Town, sleeping on the street because you have been dispossessed, you bear no inheritance from your ancestors, from your foreancestors, because they all have suffered under the hands of white supremacy, white arrogance, and white terrorism. They find you, which shows completely that white people are not willing to make amends. A brother last week posted and said, if white people were in the same position that black people are in now, white leaders will have liberated white people within 5 to 10 years. But here we are, 25 years later, we're still having France like Cyril Ramaphosa. People who do not even have a clear mandate in terms of repairing the conditions that black people are bearing today. Now, so it also another question which we need to look at is if indeed black spirituality, what we call Baloi, if they exist, it will be our clear mandate to re-educate them into helping fight for the black revolution. Because we really need to redeem ourselves. We cannot wait for no government, but the first thing first is for us to be able to come together. Right? You talk about revolution, come to the shooting range. We're preparing you now. We need to have the capacity to protect our families, to protect our communities, to protect our land, to protect our nation, our black nation. We believe in black nationalism and action at the same time. So we say peace and black power. Much love, black family. Before I leave the office today, I'll try to draft a complaint against the homeless people. The homeless people in Cape Town who need our help. And then, another thing is the fact that see you this Saturday from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. on Africa Nights. It will be hosted in Johannesburg Central. Oh yes, thank you, my brother, and thank you for watching Black Family. Much love.